She was the kind of woman poets write about. But nobody wrote about Salome. They whispered about her instead. In the village of Ugwu-Eze, tucked between red earth hills and the slow bend of a river that never quite reached the sea, there lived a woman whose hands could turn ordinary thread into something the sky itself would envy. Her fingers moved like they had their own language. Like they were always saying something the rest of her couldn't. Her name was Salome. And from the outside, or from a distance, her life looked like a blessing. She had a small mud home with a clean swept yard. She had a loom older than her grandmother, passed down through 3 generations of women who knew how to make beauty out of almost nothing. She had eyes that caught light the way still water does, and a laugh that, on the rare occasions it came out, made children stop playing just to turn and look. But blessings, as any elder in Ugwu-Eze will tell you, are not always what they appear to be. Because Salome carried something nobody could see. A condition. Rare, quiet, invisible, but real. A condition that meant her body could not welcome a man the way other women's bodies could. Could not carry a child. Could not do the very things the village measured a woman by. And in Ugwu-Eze, a woman's worth was counted in children first, husband second. Everything else was decoration. Salome had known since she was 16. A village healer had told her mother in harsh tones, and her mother had cried for 3 days without explanation, and Salome had pieced it together the way children piece together the things adults think they're hiding. She had accepted it quietly. What she had not expected was that the village would not. The first man her family approached for marriage came to her father with interest in his eyes. He was a decent man, a farmer. Not someone who turned heads but someone who showed up, which Salome had always believed was more important. For 3 months, they talked, shared meals, began the slow, careful process of becoming familiar with each other. Then someone told him. He left before the next morning. No letter. No explanation to her face. Just a conversation with her father where the word defective was used, and a pair of footsteps walking away down a dirt path and not coming back. Salome did not cry at the loom that day. She wove instead. Long, furious, beautiful rows of color, red for what she felt, gold for what she refused to let go of, black at the edges where she couldn't help what was true. But the village had already started talking. And this is where I need you to understand something about gossip in a small village. It doesn't just spread. It becomes the air. It gets into everything. Into the market greetings and the well-side conversations and the way a woman looks at you when she thinks you can't see her looking. They called her the empty woman. Not to her face, most of them were too polite for that, which is its own kind of cruelty, because it means you never get the chance to answer. You just absorb it. You walk through a cloud of it every day and pretend you don't notice you're wet. Children, who had not yet learned pretending, were sometimes less careful. Mama says she's cursed, a small boy announced once, loud enough for the whole market square to hear, while Salome was arranging her fabrics on her mat. Mama says no man will ever want her because she is broken inside. The market went briefly, terribly quiet. Salome looked at the boy for a long moment. He was maybe 7 years old. Round-faced. Innocent in the way that only makes things worse. She said, very calmly, "Tell your mama I said her wrapper is beautiful today." Then she looked back at her fabrics and kept arranging. But when she got home that evening, she sat outside her door until the sky went completely dark, and she did not go inside for a very long time. This is what humiliation does. It doesn't break you all at once. It erodes. Like water on rock, patient, daily, unremarkable in any single moment. And you stand there telling yourself you're still standing, and you are, technically. But you are also thinner than you were. And the thinning happens whether you acknowledge it or not. Salome kept weaving. She wove for the wives of chiefs and the daughters of traders. She wove for celebrations she was never invited to. She wove for weddings and naming ceremonies and every ritual that required beautiful fabric, which is to say, she wove for every occasion that reminded her what she did not have. And she was brilliant at it. That is the part that always gets me about her story. That she kept pouring herself into work that served the very life that excluded her. There is something both devastating and quietly heroic about that. To keep giving beauty to a world that has decided you are not enough. To keep showing up with your whole heart in your hands when your hands are all anyone will take from you. She had one friend through most of this. Adiz, a married woman 2 compounds over, who brought her pepper soup on hard nights and never once used the word pity in a way that felt like pity. But Adiz moved away with her husband in Salome's 26th year, and after that the loneliness had a different weight to it. Heavier. More permanent. Salome was 28 when Ugwu-Eze came to Ugwu-Eze for the first time. He came for the market. He was a trader from a village called Eba, 3 hours down the eastern road, and he dealt in pottery and carved woodwork, things his hands made and his feet carried to places willing to buy them. He was not a remarkable looking man. Medium height. A scar above his left eyebrow from a childhood fall he'd later described with unnecessary drama and entirely too much laughter. A way of standing that suggested he had decided, at some point in his life, that he was going to be at peace with wherever he was standing, and had mostly managed it. He came to Salome's mat because of a particular piece of cloth she had laid out, a deep indigo fabric shot through with thin lines of copper thread that caught the morning light in a way that made it look like the cloth was breathing. He stood looking at it for a full minute without saying anything. Then he said, "Who made this?" Salome looked up. "I did." He looked at her, then back at the cloth, then at her again. "How?" She told him. Not everything, just the part about the copper thread and the specific tension she kept in the warp during certain patterns. She didn't know why she told him as much as she did. She didn't usually explain her work. Most buyers didn't ask. He listened the way a person listens when they are actually interested, not performing interest. There is a difference and you always know it. He bought the fabric. He said he would be back for more. She assumed that was a polite thing traders say. He came back the following market day. And the one after that. The village noticed, because the village always notices. By the 3rd visit, the conversations had already started. Not the cruel ones this time, something more complicated. Curious. A little cautious, the way people are when they don't know yet whether to be happy for someone or to prepare their told-you-sos. Ugwu-Eze would stop at her mat and they would talk. Longer each time. About cloth and wood and what it means to make something with your hands. About the villages they'd each grown up in and the ones they wanted to see. About small things first, the way small things always come first when something larger is growing underneath them. Salome told herself it was friendship. She was careful about that word. She used it like a fence. But she found herself thinking about his visits between market days. She found herself noting which of her new pieces she wanted to show him first. She found herself, once, laughing at something he had said in a previous conversation, laughing alone in her compound, hours after he had gone, and then catching herself and feeling something complicated about it. It was around the 5th visit that the first woman came to warn her. An older woman. Not unkind, she would insist on that. Just practical. "I am telling you because I like you," she said, settling herself without invitation near Salome's mat. "That man is looking at you in a way that means something. And you should prepare yourself for what happens when he finds out." Salome kept her hands busy with her thread. "Finds out what?" The woman gave her a look. The kind of look that doesn't need words. "He will leave," she said. "They all leave. And the higher you let him build this, the harder the falling will be. I am telling you because I like you." Salome thanked her for her concern. She thought about it for 3 days. And then Ugwu-Eze came back and sat across from her and said, with the directness of a man who has rehearsed something and decided rehearsing is less honest than just saying it, "I want to work with you this evening. Not as a customer. Just as, I want to work with you." She should have said no. She knew she should have said no. She said yes. They walked the road that runs along the outside of the market and curves toward the edge of the cassava farms, where the path gets soft and the trees lean toward each other overhead like they are sharing a secret. They talked about nothing important for a long time, and then somehow they were talking about important things, the way that happens when the right person is walking beside you. He told her about his mother, who had died when he was 12, and how he had learned to cook because grief had made him need something to do with his hands. She told him about the loom and how her grandmother had stood behind her the first time and guided her fingers and told her that cloth remembers the hands that made it. That years later someone will wear a thing you wove and carry something of you forward without knowing it. That's beautiful, Ugwu-Eze said. She was a beautiful thinker, Salome said. They walked in silence for a bit, a comfortable silence, the kind that feels like an arrival rather than a gap. Then Ugwu-Eze said, I hear things in the market. Salome's hands, which were empty but always moving slightly, went still. People say things, he continued, about you. About why you are not, why you have not married. She kept her eyes on the path. I don't need to know anything you don't want to tell me, he said. I want to say that clearly first. But I also want you to know that what I've heard, whatever it is, it has not changed a single thing about how I find myself thinking about you. He paused. I just wanted you to know that. Salome stopped walking. She turned and looked at him and he met her eyes the way a person meets eyes when they mean what they are saying. And here is the thing about being told you are wanted, fully, openly, by someone who knows what they are accepting, after years of being the woman the village defined by her absence, her lack, her incompletion. It does not feel like joy at first. It feels like your chest might come apart. Like the structure you've been using to stay upright has been made of the very weight of believing you would never hear exactly this, and now that you have heard it, you do not know what to do with your hands. Salome said, very quietly, you don't know everything. Then tell me, he said. If you want to. She told him everything. Standing on the soft edge of the Kosovo farm road, with the trees leaning their secret overhead and the last light going out of the sky, she told him everything she had been carrying since she was 16. The condition. The first man. The market. The boy. The word defective used in a conversation that was supposed to be about her future. She spoke without stopping, because she had learned that the only way to say a hard thing is to not give yourself the space to stop. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he said, that boy in the market. You told him his mother's wrapper was beautiful. She blinked. How do you know that? I was there. He paused. I had come to buy cloth. I saw the whole thing. And I thought, who is that woman, and what has she been carrying, and how is she still standing so straight? Salome looked at him for a long time. I don't need you to be what you aren't, he said. I need you to be who you are. That is all I am asking for. That night, for the first time in years, Salome did not weave. She sat outside her door as she often did when the nights were heavy. But this time the sky didn't feel like it was pressing down. It felt like it was open. The weeks that followed were the kind of weeks that don't announce themselves as the best of your life while they're happening. You only know it later. They talked every market day and sometimes the days in between, when Ugwu-Eze found reasons to pass through Ugwu-Eze that weren't quite convincing but nobody minded. They brought food to each other's compounds. They sat with each other's silences. The village, which had predicted disaster, began quietly revising its predictions. Children who had once repeated their parents' cruelty started playing near Salome's compound again, drawn by the fact that she kept small sweets in a clay pot and gave them freely and never asked anything in return except that they not touch the loom. Old women who had warned her began stopping to smile at her in the market. One of them said, without quite apologizing for the warning she had given, that man has a good face. Which in Ugwu-Eze is a way of saying, we were wrong and we are glad. Salome let herself be happy. She had not given herself permission for that in a long time and she was, frankly, a little rusty at it. But happiness, like weaving, is a skill. It comes back to the hands. But happiness, as anyone knows who has ever found it late and hard, is not the same as peace. Because Salome still lay awake some nights with a particular ache that love alone could not reach. The longing for intimacy as a physical thing. The longing for a child, not in the abstract, theoretical way, but in the specific, embodied, urgent way of a woman who has spent years making beautiful things and wondering what it would feel like to make a life. Ugwu-Eze knew this ache existed. He never pushed against it. He was a man who had decided to love all of her, including the parts of her that love could not fix. But there is a difference between accepting a wound and pretending it isn't there, and Salome had never been a woman who pretended. And then there was Ugwu-Eze's family. His older sister came to visit from Eba and took one look at Salome and one listened to the village gossip and announced, with the confidence of someone who has already decided and is merely presenting findings, that Salome had used something on her brother. That a man with options does not fall this completely for a woman with nothing to offer unless something has been done to him. That the women in their family had always been suspicious of weavers, something about the thread, she said, something about women who work with their hands in patterns all day, it opens doors. Ugwu-Eze told his sister to mind herself. His sister told him he was bewitched. His uncle sent a message suggesting he consult a dibia before proceeding further. His cousin came in person, sat in Salome's yard, looked her in the eyes like he was searching for something, and left without explanation. Ugwu-Eze told Salome all of this. He told her because he believed she deserved to know and because he had decided that the only way to build something real with her was to not protect her from reality, which is actually the deepest form of respect. Salome listened to all of it. Then she said, "Do you believe them?" "No," he said, without hesitation. "Then it is enough," she said. But she went home that night and cried, not at the accusation, which she had heard before in different forms, but at the thought that she might become a witch. That her presence in Ugwu-Eze's life might cost him his family. That loving her might be a price no man should have to pay. It was 2 days after this that the old woman found her. Salome had gone to the river before dawn, as she sometimes did when sleep refused her, just to sit by the water and listen to something move that was not her own thoughts. The old woman was already there when she arrived, which was strange because old women in Ugwu-Eze do not typically sit by rivers before dawn. She was small and dry-looking in the way that very old people sometimes are, like the years have slowly taken back whatever wasn't essential. But her eyes were completely alert, completely present. She looked at Salome as if she had been expecting her. "Sit," she said. Salome sat. The old woman told her about the Ugwu-Eze forest, about a tree at its center so old that the village had been built around the memory of it. A tree that was not ordinary. A tree, she said, that had been known to grant wishes to those who reached it with an uncorrupted heart. "Many have tried," the old woman said. "The forest has its own ways of deciding. Not everyone who enters comes back out." Salome looked at her. "Why are you telling me this?" The old woman looked back at her. "Because you have been weaving your sorrow into your cloth for long enough. And because you have a heart that the forest will recognize." She paused. "Whether you choose to go is your own affair." Then she got up and walked back toward the village and Salome never saw her again after that. Salome sat by the river alone for a long time. Then she went and told Ugwu-Eze. He listened to everything. Then he said, with the simple certainty that Salome had come to recognize as his particular way of loving her, "When do we go?" "You don't have to come." "I know," he said. "When do we go?" They left 3 days later, in the early morning before the village woke, because some things are private and some journeys announce themselves only in the living. The Ugwu-Eze forest began about 2 hours east of Ugwu-Eze, where the red earth path became less certain of itself and the trees grew close enough to turn midday into twilight. It was not the kind of forest that felt neutral. It had a presence the way very old things sometimes do, a sense of something watching, though you could never find what. They walked without speaking much. This was not anxious silence, it was the silence of two people who have become comfortable in each other's presence and who understand that some things are bigger than conversation. The first trial came subtly. A drift of butterflies, yellow and pale white, hundreds of them, flowing between the trees and settling on the path ahead of them. Beautiful, the way certain dangerous things are beautiful. And then the sound began, whispering. Not from the butterflies exactly, but from the air around them, the way sound sometimes seems to come from everywhere and nowhere. The whispers were her name first. Then, the voices of people who had hurt her. The boy in the market. The first man. The sister. The cousin. Her own voice, repeating the things she had thought about herself in her darkest moments. Salome stopped. Ugwu-Eze, who had something different, his own fears, his own failures, stopped beside her. She closed her eyes. She breathed. She said, almost to herself, "These are not my truth." She opened her eyes and walked forward. The butterflies parted. The whispering faded. They went deeper. The second trial was different. They were crossing a stretch of root-tangled ground, single file because the path narrowed. Ugwu-Eze ahead, when the snake came from the left side, fast, dark-banded, and completely without warning. It struck before either of them could move. Ugwu-Eze's left ankle. He made a sound that Salome heard before she saw what had happened, and she turned to find him already sinking toward the ground, one hand against a tree trunk, face gone pale in the way that fear and poison together do to a face. She got to him before he reached the ground. She pulled him to a tree root, elevated his leg, tore a strip from the hem of her cloth to slow the spread, doing the things she had heard one should do while also knowing, in the part of her that knew things without wanting to, that they were deep in a forest with no healer and the nearest village was hours behind them. Ugwu-Eze looked at her. "Keep going," he said. "I'm not leaving you. Salome. The tree? Your wish. Go." "You are not listening to me," she said, in a voice so quiet and final that he stopped talking. "You are not listening to me." She held his hand. His breathing grew labored. His skin went cold under her palm. She did not leave him. But she could not stay forever. The tree, when she found it, 40 more minutes through pain she didn't name, was exactly what the old woman had not described because some things defeat description. It was enormous, impossibly so, its roots breaking the surface of the ground around it like the bones of something ancient, its canopy so wide it created its own weather. Its bark was the color of very old copper. Its leaves, even without wind, moved. Salome stood at the base of it. "I know what you are," she said. The tree, or the air around it, was quiet. "I came for myself," she said. "I came because I wanted, because I have wanted, for so long." She stopped. She breathed. "I came for myself. But he is dying back there. And I would rather keep him than have any other thing I have ever wanted." She said, "Please save his life." The light changed. Something moved through the air like a breath, or like the end of one. She turned and ran back. When she reached him, the color was already returning to Ugwu-Eze's face. The swelling that had been climbing toward his knee was receding. His breathing was steady. He looked at her when she arrived, and his eyes were clear. "What happened?" he asked. "You are going to be fine," she said. "Did you reach the tree?" She looked at him for a moment. The long look she had learned to give herself permission for. "Yes," she said. He searched her face. "And your wish?" She sat beside him on the forest floor, his hand still in both of hers. "I got exactly what I wished for," she said. He understood then, because he knew her. He started to speak and she shook her head gently and stopped. They sat in the forest for a long time, while the light moved through the trees above them and the ojoji was quiet around them and the world did what it always does, which is to keep going, whether or not we are ready for it. They walked out of the forest together. Salome was not healed. She came home with the same body she had entered the forest with, the same condition, the same impossibility of the children she had once imagined, the same truth the village would keep trying to define her by. But something had been settled. Something that does not have a simple name, not acceptance exactly, not resignation, nothing with defeat in it. Something more like, I have seen what I love most clearly, and I have chosen it, and the choosing was mine. Ugwu-Eze was alive. The village, when they returned, noticed the change in her before they could identify it. It was in the way she walked, the way she sat at her loom, the way she looked at her own hands when she walked, as if she was finally satisfied with what they had made. Some of them came to her. Not with apologies, that is not how such things happen in real life. And anyone who tells you otherwise is writing a different kind of story. But they came. In small ways. A woman who had once whispered began buying her cloth again and saying, each time, that there was nothing in the whole market like it. An elder stopped her at the roadside and said, without explanation, "You are a good woman." A child who had once repeated her mother's cruelty fell and scraped her knee near Salome's compound and came to her door without thinking, and Salome washed the scrape and gave her water and sent her home with a sweet from the clay pot. The cloth Salome wove after the forest was different. Not in pattern or in technique, she still made the same extraordinary things she had always made. But something in the tension was changed. Something was resolved that had been unresolved before. The women who bought her cloth began to say that wearing it felt different. That it felt like something had been put into it. Like the cloth remembered the hands that made it. Her grandmother had told her that. It turned out her grandmother was right. Ugwu-Eze stayed. Of course he stayed. He was not a man who had made a decision and then needed to be persuaded by outcomes to keep it. His family, over time, quieted. Not all of them, and not all at once. Families are complex and some wounds take longer than others. But the sister came, eventually, and sat in Salome's yard and ate the food she cooked and said nothing unkind. Which in certain families is as close to blessing as it gets. They were married in a small ceremony that the village showed up to in greater numbers than expected, because people wanted to see what love that had been tested publicly looked like up close. It was smaller than the celebration Salome had spent years weaving fabric for. The cloth was hers. The food was ordinary. The joy was not. An elder spoke at the ceremony and said something that Salome turned over in her mind for years afterward. The tree gives the wish that the heart is truly asking for. Not always the wish the mouth speaks. The tree knows what you cannot afford to lose. She had gone into the forest asking for healing. She had come out having found it. Just not the kind she thought. And here is what I want you to carry from this. Salome's story is not a story about a woman who was broken and got fixed. It is not a story about suffering patiently rewarded. It is a story about a woman who was told, repeatedly, in 100 different ways, that her worth was tied to what she could not do, and who kept showing up anyway. Who kept making beauty anyway. Who kept carrying her full self to a world that only wanted part of her, and eventually found one person who wanted all of it, and chose him. And in choosing him, found out who she actually was. The village that once called her the empty woman now buys her cloth for their most important celebrations. They drape their daughters in what her hands made. They carry her forward without always knowing her name. She is in the thread. She always was. You are watching Tales by Ahem. If this story moved you, even a little, if you found yourself in Salome, or in Ugwu-Eze, or in the moment she stood at the base of that tree with only one wish left, please subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Drop something in the comments, who you were thinking of while you watched. And share this with someone who needs to hear it tonight. The next story is already waiting. I will see you there.